Well, joining me live in the studio is business editor Tolulope. Ogunjobi at State House correspondent Femi Akonde would be joining us live from the nation's capital, Abuja. Tolu, it's good to have you here this evening. You've been covering this beat for over a decade now, and Emefiele's suspension is at this time premised on ongoing investigation of his office and the reforms. But what really are the contending issues around these reforms?
Well, first is that President Tinubu was clear in his inauguration speech that he was going to sanitize the monetary aspect of that. That's the monetary side. You know, we have the monetary and the fiscal side of this administration, and that's the central bank monetary policy, controlling inflation, trying to manage the currency and all of that. And you will agree with me that one of the major issues we've faced in recent times is the forex, hike in forex, the disparity between the I and E window and the other market, which is the parallel market. For more than 3, 4, 5 years, we've been on the rate I and E window between 400 and 450 naira, and on the other side is around 700 naira, 750 naira. At the time, it got about 900 naira, if you could remember, and it came down. The same CBN governor instituted that initiative to stop the BDCs from getting forex from the CBN to try to address all of these issues. So many people have to go out of their way to get FX. Airlines cannot repatriate funds because of FX issues, and this has really not worked with all of the things that the CBN has tried to institute to address all of this. So I think that is part of the reasons why they said there's supposed to be a reorganization of Nigeria's monetary policy. And of course, when you talk about the ratio of the monetary policy rate at the moment, the central bank has continued to increase this rate. The aim is to rein in on inflation, but it has not worked. As of today, inflation is 22.22%, and our rate is still around 18.5%. So we cannot, and this will increase lending rates. How will businesses survive when you've projected before now, and at the end of the day, after a meeting, you see a change? That means your bank will write you and tell you the rate has changed, and of course, there'll be more money for you to pay. So this has affected businesses, affected investors' confidence. And when investors are not sure about how they can repatriate their funds, they won't bring foreign direct investment into your country. There is no how you try to convince them. So you see, these are the issues that have affected the central bank. The governor is always maintaining that he does some unorthodox policies, going away from the norm, trying to do things that are away from the norm. But it seems not to be working. So there are a lot of other things that should have been done that he didn't do. We've had analysts talking all around this. Before we even go to the big Naira redesign thing that happened before the election, you know what happened? For months, some people didn't have 1,000 Naira notes in their wallets, 500 Naira notes. There were no notes anywhere. Even as of today, do we have the new notes?
Well, Tolu, let's take a pause and listen to the CBN governor sometime in January announce an extension of a deadline of
the Naira redesign policy.
Yes, the redesign policy. Let's listen to that now.
On the foregoing,
well, we'll get back to this video of the CBN governor, but Tolu, you would have to still hold on. Let's connect to Femi Akonde, our State House correspondent, who is in Abuja. Femi, you are in Abuja. Talk to us about this news coming from the presidency about suspension of Mr. Godwin Emefiele. All right, we will also connect with Kemi, but then we have an economist, Okwemi Agbaje, joining us also online. Mr. Agbaje, what do you make of this move coming at this time, suspension of the CBN governor? It's quite a busy evening, and getting all the views together, everything coming together. Tolu, you were talking about the Naira redesign policy. This is major,
I must tell you.
I'm curious, and I'm actually tempted to ask you whether you have the new notes.
I tell you, I don't have the new notes. And even when you use the ATM, which I did earlier today, to withdraw 20,000, which is the limit, it was all old notes. Even when you go into the banking hall to withdraw, you get the old notes. So what really was behind the Naira redesign policy? I'm not a politician, I'm a journalist. But it seems like there's more to it. So there are a lot of questions to be answered around the Naira redesign policy. Why did we have to do it at that time? You know, the pain, people lost lives. We lost people, a lot of people. even in the rural and urban areas, because people could not get monies. People could not do transfers. The banks were not prepared. They couldn't handle the volume of transaction at that time.
And to think that people had these monies in their account, but they just could not access the funds.
You can't access your funds. You can't even buy what you want to buy with your own funds. And even legally, it's wrong for me to put my money in the bank, and when I want my money, I can't get my money. There's also the e-Naira policy. There's a lot. E-Naira policy was to try to address the issue of cryptocurrencies and all of that, in all of this digital currencies. But it didn't go anywhere. How many people subscribed to the e-Naira policy? How many people are using the wallet as of today? Can we just try and investigate and get how many people? So most of these policies affected Nigerians, and they really complained about it. They came out to say, no, that's not the way to go. We expect that by December, according to the law, we should go to the new notes, go solely integrate to the new notes. But we don't even have it. We don't know if they're printed. How much was printed? How much did we get into circulation? How much was withdrawn from circulation? Monetary policy has a lot to do with all that has to do with the economy. Businesses, capital markets, stock markets, they look at what comes from the CBN. That shapes their investment. That shapes their decision. That's what will make them say, I want to come to Nigeria. But when you're not clear, when your policies are not clear, investors sit on the fence.
So you think investors' confidence actually dwindled
of course,
as a result of that?
Of course, our capital inflow dropped. Even in the market, domestic investors are taking charge of the Nigerian capital market as of today. The foreign investors are nowhere to be found. Just a few of them who still believe slightly in Nigeria or know how they can repatriate their funds by themselves. We have some guys they're coming with the hot money. They come to invest. All of this disparity between the I and E window and the other markets has discouraged this.
All right, so